Week 13 is in the books, so that means it's time to hit those waiver wires to find players that could add value to the back end of your rosters. And just a heads up, any rostership percentage data that I reference is being pulled from 1,700 real Dynasty leagues on myfantasyleague.com. So first and foremost, I want to highlight a couple players that are already highly rostered, but not 100% rostered that I think should be, and that includes Tyler Huntley and Taylor Heineke in Superflex leagues, Latavius Murray, and DeMarcus Robinson. Again, all guys that are probably already rostered in your Dynasty leagues, but just in case, just double check these guys because if they are available, you should add them immediately. All right, first player on our list today is a vote of confidence in Jets quarterback Mike White. And in the 4 games that Mike White has started and finished, he has put up 28 points, 24 points, 16 and 6, an average of 19 points per game. And 2 of those games were last year on a worse Jets team as well. If Mike White continues playing like he is and potentially takes the Jets into the playoffs, I think there's a strong case that they just roll into 2023 with him as the starter again and continue building out around him. So if Mike White is still available in your league, which he's available in 14% of Superflex leagues on myfantasyleague.com, probably even more out there on Sleeper, I would be spending everything that you have left to go and get Mike White, because this could potentially be like a Davis Mills situation, which I get hasn't really worked out this year, but you have multiple opportunities all offseason and during the summer to potentially trade him for like a second in Superflex leagues. So if you're not in on Mike White, but you're still able to pick him up, you might have a couple out points for some still really good draft capital next summer. Or best case scenario, you found the next late round or undrafted good quality starting quarterback in the NFL, like a Tony Romo or a Kirk Cousins. That's the upside that Mike White possesses, and you just got him right off the waiver wire. The other quarterback that I need to mention this week is Brock Purdy, and I'll be honest, I don't really want to pick up Brock Purdy. There's just no upside here. Are you going to play him in your fantasy playoffs? Because I really hope not. Are you holding him for next year in case he's a starter? Definitely not. So unless your trade deadline hasn't passed or you don't have a trade deadline and you think you can flip Brock Purdy for like a 3rd or even like a 4th round rookie pick this week, then fine, add him. But I just don't really want to waste fab or a waiver priority for him. Save that for somebody that's actually worth it. Let's jump back to this Jets offense real quick because we got more answers on Zonovan Knight this week as he totaled nearly 120 yards on 20 touches, including 5 receptions. And James Robinson was active, but was basically irrelevant with 4 carries, and Ty Johnson worked almost exclusively as a pass catcher. This is Zonovan Knight's backfield as long as Michael Carter is out. But when Carter returns, Knight probably still has a role, but he won't be startable for fantasy. Now, the Jets also play in Buffalo this week, so if Carter is out, Knight is going to be a tough play against a really good rush defense. However, the Jets end the season with Detroit, Jacksonville, and Seattle for the fantasy playoffs, which are all good to even great matchups against opposing running backs. So if Carter misses any games moving forward or is even out for the remainder of the year, fire up your Zonovan Knights for the fantasy playoffs. All right, but seriously, guys, at this point, if you've been watching these videos for like the past month or so and DJ Dallas was still on your waiver wire, I don't really know what to say. It's not like I've been preaching to grab handcuffs for so long, and I've specifically name dropped DJ Dallas a handful of times, just like I did with Samaje Perine, just like I did with Jermichael Hasty while Etienne had an injury scare. And now Kenneth Walker has an ankle injury and DJ Dallas is the next man up. Now, to be fair, Dallas himself was in and out of this past week's game with injuries, so I will also include Tony Jones in here as well. But if you're choosing between the two, it's DJ Dallas, mainly because Tony Jones is not good. But if Kenneth Walker is out this week, DJ Dallas could be a really valuable pickup for you to stream in the final week before your fantasy playoffs. Now, to try to get ahead of the curve again this week, the specific handcuff that I want to highlight picking up before their starter goes down is Jordan Mason. Now, much to my dismay, Elijah Mitchell was placed on injured reserve again late last week, but that leaves Jordan Mason as the primary backup to Christian McCaffrey. He looked really good on Sunday as well as the change of pace back for the Niners, actually totaling 51 yards on 8 carries. And since Mitchell is out for at least 3 more weeks, Tyrion Davis-Price looks like an afterthought at this point. He didn't have a single snap on Sunday. Mason could be an extremely valuable pickup for contending teams in case Christian McCaffrey were to get hurt. We have years of data at this point that shows us that whoever the main running back one is in this Niners backfield is going to be fantasy valuable in those weeks. And if Mason finds himself in that role, he could be the difference for you between you advancing in the playoffs or getting booted. And since we're already here talking about handcuffs, let me just take this time now to reemphasize again the importance of grabbing handcuffs at this point in the season, regardless if you have the starter or not. So if any of these players are on your waiver wires, you need to go out and add them. And that includes Zamir White, Jalen Warren, Keontae Ingram, Dearness Johnson, Joshua Kelly, Deion Jackson, Jermichael Hasty-Still, Ronald Jones, Matt Breida, Mike Boone, and Treston Ebner. Any of those guys are on your waiver wires. Drop like your wide receiver 7 or 8 or 9 or whatever, and just pick up those guys just in case the starter were to actually go down, and you could potentially flip them if you don't have a trade deadline, or actually use them and start them. And like I said, that could be the difference between you getting booted and you advancing and potentially winning a fantasy championship. And if you're looking for some more moves to make after week 13, I highly recommend checking out Justin's video right up here.